All right. Welcome to Scatterbrained, a weekly subpod of mind controllers. I'm your host, Brandon Craw, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Joe Moreno.
And today, we're going to tell you all about the video games and media we've been enjoying this week, as well as go over some categories from the Game Awards. But first, non-game stuff, quick check-in. Give me your quick rating of Wicked.
7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. It was good. I'm not a big fan of musicals. 7 out of 10 to me means good. Doesn't mean mid, because I know that 7 out of 10 for people is mid, right? But I enjoyed it. Like I said in the text, it was like more of that shonen kind of arc, right? I want to see what happened, Well, how did we get to the point at the end of, The Wizard of Oz? There was a lot of singing, which I'm not a big fan of. But I enjoyed it. Like, it was a good time. I would say, like, even if you're skeptical, go check it out. You might get something out of it. I'm trying to challenge myself to, like, doesn't mean I'm going to go, watch the play. Or maybe I will. I don't know. But this was it was a good movie. Way better than The Joker Part 2 or whatever it was called.
Folie à deux. Put some respect on that name.
The Jonkler.
Oh, my God. The Jonkler. The Jonkler strikes back. Yeah, I'm really glad you watched it because that movie has been one of my favorites that I've seen this year. And I'm also kind of like you that I don't even really like musicals. I feel a little bit like when the singing starts, I'm like, I don't know about
Cringe
this.
a little.
But yeah, just a bit. But, I also helped compose the music for 2 musicals. So I feel a little bit oxymoronic saying that I don't like them or didn't like them. I'm certainly learning to appreciate them a bit more now. And this one, although the music, some of them, there were some songs that really stood out to me and had a lot of emotional impact, and some that I just felt like were like, oh, this is just like another musical number. And I don't know, it's not bad. And visually, everything going on there was like entertaining and fascinating. Like I felt like all the choreography, the set design, the color, I loved it. I loved it a lot. But yeah, some of the music, I was mentally prepared for it being a musical, but sometimes it would still just kind of take me a little bit out of the immersion. But thank you for giving it a shot.
Did you know there's a Wizard of Oz DS game, like a DS RPG? I didn't know that.
I had no idea. I love that you were tying it back into the video games. It was a DS Wizard of Oz game? What the hell? Yeah, I wonder what GameSpot gave that one. Beyond the Yellow Brick Road.
8 out of 10 on IGN.
Yeah, what? That's crazy. That's a lot higher than I would have expected. Wow. Okay. Well, I guess for anyone who really wants to get into that Wicked lore, what game to play next. But yeah, I really like like you said, kind of like that shonen-esque journey of Elphaba coming to her own and despite all odds. It's very like we talked about it in text, but it reminds us of Metaphor, Refantazio, a little bit, with a lot of the prejudice, a lot of these secret-ish societies whose voices are being trampled down by the people in power. And it's kind of overcoming that adversity in order to, I guess, either make the world better, but in the case of Wicked, really just to survive. Elphaba is just trying to survive by the end of that movie. And yeah, I was touched by a lot of the themes in that and really enjoyed it. I also want to acknowledge you starting to go into things and that you're not really familiar with / a little bit not your usual things. I don't know if I influenced you at all to see Wicked. I don't know whose decision it was to go see it. Well, actually, yeah, I'll ask you that.
It was because you were like, yeah, maybe check it out, because we hung out, right? And I was talking about it, right? And the theater kids scared me. I was like, I don't know about this, right? But I was like, I mean, you spoke so highly of it, and I was like, what? Let me check it out. Let me see, Yeah, and I did, and I went with my family, and they enjoyed it too. They were hyped to watch it, especially my sister. Go, because I was like, hey, do you want to go watch it? And she was like, yes. When? What time? Whatever time I have on Saturday.
Oh my God, that's awesome. I'm glad that your family ended up being pretty hyped on it. I know another one of those things that we were just talking about that you've been interested in that I talked about was Stalker 2. I haven't even played it yet. And you probably know a lot more about the lore than I do.
I was definitely checking out the lore last night, falling asleep to it. Just needed something to listen to. And it's super interesting. I think we were talking about games that were recently coming out. There was nothing on my radar. And then you were talking about Stalker 2, Path of Exile, right? The Indiana Jones game. I watched some reviews, and then Stalker 2 stuck with me because I'm like, it gave me that Fallout vibe, that Metro vibe as well. And I was like, you know what? This is something out of my wheelhouse. Like I don't really care for FPSs that much unless they got RPG mechanics. And I don't think Stalker does.
Sure.
So yeah, I might be checking that out soon.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I like I said, you're more than welcome to borrow my Xbox Series X. Now that with this gaming PC, I almost don't have a use for turning on the Xbox, so it's just been sitting there. I also have one controller I could probably lend you. The other one I've been using on my computer. So, but those they're compatible with most. I don't know. We'll talk about it offline. We'll figure it out offline. Yeah, but yeah, no, that's cool. Do you feel like for Stalker that you're at least enjoying or like interested in the lore that you've been hearing? Do you feel like it's any different than, say, like, I don't know, the Metro lore or Fallout lore? I know those are two crazy different types of games and IPs, but
yeah, well, it revolves around like nuclear fallout. Like, so Stalker's like Chernobyl, but if Chernobyl happened a second time, and something called the Zone where it's like radiated. There's like mutants, monsters. The Stalkers are like these. They're like kind of like mercenaries. They're just trying to survive. They're trying to find materials that they can sell. They're called like artifacts within the zone. Trying to sell them, make money, make a living off of it. Yeah, I mean, just the first game, and it's old, it's jank. Like I was seeing gameplay, I'm like, nah. Usually I like playing the first game.
yeah,
Right, but I'm just like, no, I don't think I can go back to like this old school type of FPS. No, I think let's jump into 2. And I heard that Stalker 2 is pretty long. It's like 45 hours.
that's hefty.
Yeah, I like longer games because I just bought Ghost of Tsushima, which I'm going to start working on as well. It was on sale. So
Yeah.
heck yeah. But yeah, maybe I'll put
Yeah,
Stalker 2 in there and then get back into the fighting games because I've been out of fighting games for, recovering from the surgery. I didn't want to overstress anything, especially with the salt, right? You get salty when you play fighting games. So I'm like, maybe it's time to step back in.
Yeah, I get you. It feels like fighting games were such a core part of of you and your video game identity before. So it's nice to hear that you're going back to well, it's not even your roots. It feels like it's a relatively newish venture for you, but just to go back into that, because I don't know, whenever I heard you talk about fighting games, I'm like, yeah, this is totally Joe's zone right now. Like this is peak Joe.
Yeah.
So we'll get you back there. Cool. You ready to talk about what video games you have been playing this week?
I've mostly been playing Borderlands 1. So during Thanksgiving, made sure everyone had a copy of Borderlands 1 in the house. I want to do 4-player Borderlands at least once in my life. And I was able to do that. And it was fun. It was not difficult, but so the way that Borderlands works is the more players you add, the more difficult it gets and the more enemies that spawn. Areas that I'm used to, and I played Borderlands 1 multiple times. So like I know the map like back to front, hand to hand. Like it's ingrained in my mind, right?
Yeah.
But seeing so many enemies spawn, like an encounter can take like 10 to 15 minutes sometimes. Just one encounter. Make sure no one dies, everyone survives. And the enemies, like the AI is like, you can survive it, sure. But it's just the enormous amount of enemies that spawn that you get overwhelmed and you kind of get tired of it. Right? Because it's like, when are we going to move on to the next encounter? But we were able to knock out Borderlands, and I think, and it was Thanksgiving break, I was still recovering.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so like 4-player Borderlands is fun as hell. I'm sure it's funner, like, when you have people that you know around you, besides randoms, right? I mean, it's classic Borderlands. If you played the first one, you shoot, you loot, get cool guns, upgrade yourself, skill points. It's just, so it takes place in Pandora. You're essentially like a mercenary, a vault hunter. You're trying to find the vault, right? So you'll find different parts of the vault key. At the end, you unlock the vault. And yeah, I mean, it's more about the journey, I would say, because the destination, the ending for Borderlands 1 is not that great.
Oh, damn.
It's not about that.
Oh, man, I remember playing Borderlands a lot, like when it first came out, but only ever starting it. I felt like I would go over to a friend's house and then there would be a new friend there. So we would restart the game over yet again, just with like that third player, but still having like a lot of fun with it. And I think it was a really good, just like local co-op or even online co-op, just looter shooter. It certainly wasn't the first of its genre, but it helped popularize it. And there was a lot of good times to be had while playing that game. Not to mention just the satisfaction of like all the different types of guns and like that chase of getting the bigger number with like the better guns with the better stats and stuff. And I still love that kind of gameplay loop myself. So I totally get it. And I can see why that would be fun. Are you guys going to move on to the next Borderlands game now?
So we started the pre-sequel. So Borderlands 2.
Oh, that's right.
It came out chronologically in release. But I was like, let's do the pre-sequel because it sets up Borderlands 2. and I've never played the pre-sequel. But we haven't been enjoying the pre-sequel as much because the map design is very confusing. So you're like on the moon, right? So there's a lot of craters, a lot of things that just don't make sense in the geography. And so it's a lot of like pulling up the map. It feels like I'm playing Silent Hill 2 all over again, pulling up the map, kind of just like making sure where I'm going. And now there's like a vertical aspect. So now enemies can like jump up and down because you're on the moon, right? So it's more vertical. I feel like it makes the enemies way more mobile than I am. So they'll be jumping up and down and dodging. And I'm like, it's a little jank. It's a little weird. The gunplay is way better. The gameplay is way better compared to the first one. We haven't been enjoying it as much, but I think we're going to push through, especially with Christmas break coming up, because I'll be out of work for like a week or two.
I didn't realize that, actually. Dang, we should probably try to fit another hangout then whenever... once you're done. That's pretty cool. I remember, I think the only Borderlands game I played all the way through was Borderlands 3. So I remember that one feeling pretty satisfying with like a lot of the gameplay aspects. I don't remember the story too much. Like the
Don't worry
story.
About it. It's not a good story.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't remember it being that memorable, but it was still just like a very fun game. And I really like their class-based system, like in addition to like the gunplay, the looter shooter aspects, having the different classes and the different skills and talents there. I forgot what they're called in the in-game, but I love just like that little micro customization to kind of fine-tune your own gameplay, to kind of have like that own unique style of that character. And I don't remember how much of that was in the original Borderlands. I remember Borderlands 3 getting gritty. Oh, there is?
Yeah, okay. The original, like you can customize your character because you have 3 skill trees and you can just, put points into 1 or 2 or 3. So I played as Brick, who was like the bruiser, like he punches things. So I maxed out a lot of punching things. So I sucked with the guns. I hate aiming. It's on a Switch playing handheld. So that shit hurt. Carpal tunnel, which is, I don't have carpal tunnel, but it felt like it.
No. Yeah, I know what you meant.
So he has this skill where you activate it and he just starts going ham and just punching things. Like you start punching things. So it was funny because we were doing a boss fight and this boss is Sledge. He's like a huge guy. He's buff. He's built. He's got like a shotgun and all this stuff, right? And so everyone else in the party was fighting the enemies around me, right? I was able to trap this boss in like a small room and just punch him to death. and my brother was like, where'd the boss go? I'm like, oh, I'm just punching him in the closet right here, and he just melted. So that was my strategy, was like run in and start punching things. Granted, I would die a lot because enemies do more damage as you're playing with more players. That was my go-to. I was like, if I can pop my skill, I'm going to go in there and start punching because I don't want to shoot anything because I suck at like just handheld aiming. It's just not fun. It doesn't yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, just playing to your skills, going back to your fighting game roots as well.
Yeah,
just punching shit until it dies. That's awesome. I'm sure you saw the rumors that Circuit started, or it's not even a rumor. It was like an official announcement yesterday, I think. I think it was yesterday. It was sometime this week. Yeah. Yeah, by the time I didn't even mention, I'm going to try and have this episode out on Thursday morning so we could have our predictions for certain Game of the Year stuff, our Game Awards stuff, before it actually airs. But they announced, was it Gearbox announced or?
So it was on IGN. I was scrolling through there, but.
Yeah, I think it was an official Gearbox announcement that there was going to be a trailer for Borderlands 4. Is it Gearbox that makes those games?
Yeah. I just hope it's not a cinematic one in its gameplay. It's the VGA, so it might just be cinematic, right? But another Borderlands I'm down for.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's really just like a fun, mindless shooter. Don't have to think about anything. Could just go around completing side quests, just killing shit and getting better loot. And I don't know, sometimes that's all you're asking for in a video game. You don't need a whole 90-hour JRPG essay about why classism and racism is bad and anxieties and stuff. Every game.
I'll take that every time.
As I was saying, and I'm like, I know you and I would much rather play that shit anyways.
Straight into my veins.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God. Metaphor Refantazio. What have you done to me? I was at a Christmas party on Saturday night with people who don't play video games, and I was still talking about Metaphor with them.
Yeah. I mean, like if I could bring it into therapy somehow, make it therapeutic, on God, I would.
Yeah. I forget. I'm like, I was talking about it to my therapist today. I'm like, I don't see, I mean, yeah, you might be able to somehow integrate it with your clients, but that's pretty funny. When did I beat it? I think it's been about a week, maybe. Yeah. So I don't remember if I talked about it during the last episode very much, but wow. God damn. I feel like not to get super hyperbolic, but I feel like a different person after playing this game. And it absolutely changed the way, kind of how I interact with media almost, and interact with video games. Yeah, this isn't a spoiler cast. I certainly don't want to. We're gonna have one for sure, but this is not one. So I don't want to like spoil the ending. Just something about the way that game ends wants to acknowledge you as the player and thank you for playing the game and making this fantasy a reality. And that just kind of touched me and really inspired me to want to like do a one of those more long form YouTube videos. So I'll be working on that. But yeah, I think until we have that longer discussion about the game, I don't really want to say anything else. I don't want to mention any of the story stuff or whatever. We'll definitely get to it, but I just wanted to bring it up that game is one of my favorite video games of all time now. And I think it might be holding similar place for you.
Oh yeah, it's peak fantasy. It really is.
Fantasy is alive. Were you playing anything else besides Borderlands then?
No, just my usual like daily stuff like Animal Crossing, Zenless Zone Zero, which I'm still mad about that player's voice. We'll get to that later on. Yeah,
I know you voted for ZZ Triple Z the whole time.
Maybe I did. Maybe my alter ego did. I'm not too sure. I don't know how I got there.
Okay, cool. So yeah, just your usual dailies.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing. I've kind of been playing a lot of different video games, not really like completing them yet. I talked about Case of the Golden Idol last week, and it's funny because I think after I spoke about that, I encountered a level that stumped the shit out of me, and I was just like, I cannot follow the logic here and solve this puzzle. And I'm like, this shit's too smart for me. And you know me, I love like trying to figure out those puzzles, like in Alan Wake 2. I feel
like when we hit those puzzles, man, I'm like,
yeah,
I give it to you because I'm like, I can't. Not.
I know. I love the fact that you even looked up the answer to one of the puzzles and we got it. But I was still thinking about how we could have gotten that answer. Like I wasn't accepting that we already had the answer. I needed to figure out how like logically we could get there.
Right. So you had the ruminating thoughts.
Yeah.
Dude, once we got it, I was like, that's it. Out of here. We're out.
Dude, I was having those ruminating thoughts again with Case of the Golden Idol. I think it was just like the third or like the chapter like 2, I think, because I think each chapter has like 3 scenes. And yeah, I got into the next chapter and it was the first scene of that one where I was just like, I don't know. I used the hints. Even with the hints, I was like, I'm not sure. I have no idea. And then I stepped away from it for a couple days. And I think after that first day, I was like, maybe I didn't read all the clues right. I don't know. Someone said you need to think about it. I forgot what the logical method is, but it's like talking to a rubber ducky. If you explain something to a rubber duck, like an imaginary rubber duck, then it'll help you connect some more dots and then sometimes help you progress through the puzzle. I think the person described this as like a coder's methodology, a way of like trying to figure out a coding problem. But then they also said that they have been using it for this game as well. The Case of the Golden Idol. So I tried that out mentally and I'm like, yep, I figured it out. And it was such a clever way like that they designed the game where they hit a clue somewhere in someone's bed, pretty much saying to read the 4th letter of every row, or not even the 4th letter of every row. It just said read the 4th of every row. And when I first found that, I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I realized that I had to go to that person whose room and like who they were storing this note in, their bedroom. And I went to that person's, you could click on them and see what they're holding. And then I click on them. Turns out they have this very long letter, has a bunch of rows. But if you go through each sentence or each line on that handwritten letter and pick out the 4th word from each line, it has like a secret message that then reveals who it was that ordered the hit on this one person, or who ordered this like assassination on this one person. And even though I used the clues to like kind of get to this point, I still felt so fucking smart after that. I was just like,
yeah, no way. You're not gonna catch me doing that. I couldn't even beat the first Professor Layton back in the day. So I was like,
yo,
yeah, these things are
those
not
were
for me.
hard.
These games are not for me. No, I'm out.
I know they're not for everyone. And even me right now, I haven't felt too inclined to go back. I did, I think 2 levels past that and finished like the second act, or the second chapter. But yeah, I've kind of been playing some other games, and that's why I haven't like touched it too much. One that I want to quickly talk on is Marvel Rivals. Did I tell you I downloaded this?
No, I have it downloaded. I'm thinking of
Oh shit.
yeah, playing it eventually. Yeah, I pick it up.
Okay, well it's crossplay, so looks like we're gonna have to do it. A mind controller stream. I was about to call us Metaphor Refantazio.
The Metaphor podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so down to play that and stream it and do whatever. So you haven't started up
No,
yet?
I just downloaded it. Been kind of busy with work, and then Ghost of Tsushima came in, and so yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd be down to stream it too. Yeah, like just playing. I've been wanting to get in because I've seen a lot of clips like on Instagram and stuff, and they got like Marvel characters like Jeff the baby land shark and stuff, which everyone hates now. I'm like, that's messed up.
Yep.
Iron Fist is in there. I'm just waiting for Daredevil. That's my guy. I don't know. I'm waiting for him to get it.
Oh yeah. Daredevil, Deadpool is probably going to be dropped into the game at some point. Yeah, there's so many like cash cow characters that I'm sure they're waiting to just sprinkle in there whenever the engagement starts getting a little bit lower. But I really enjoyed the game. I played a lot of Overwatch when it first came out, and obviously there's this logical connection here that this is like a Marvel's version of Overwatch. And it certainly feels like it. I would almost say that this feels a bit more, I don't want to say complex because it's not like it's a very complex game, but there are more interactions between the characters in Marvel Rivals compared to Overwatch. Like, for example, you can have, if a certain 3 characters are all on one team, then you have like a special unique ability amongst those characters. And I'm not 100% sure yet on how to activate them. I only played for like an hour, and half of that hour was going through the tutorial stuff. And there's like a lot of depth, I think, to the characters in general. And I feels like there's more characters. I don't remember what the overall roster was
like
on Overwatch, but
isn't it? Oh, well, in Marvel Rivals.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the Overwatch one is, but yeah, like you just said, 33 characters for Marvel Rivals. It feels like that's more than what I remember in Overwatch. I could be misremembering it though, and I don't have a roster pulled up right here, but really enjoyed that game. It felt, I was playing as Mantis, so I love playing support classes, so I was just going around healing people. Her thing is she has these like 4, I think they're called seeds. It's just like a secondary energy resource, and you obtain them. They recharge over time. I think like 1 seed takes like maybe 5 or 10 seconds to recharge. And to heal someone, it consumes 1 seed. But you can obtain 1 seed if you get like critical hits or headshots on people. So it really incentivizes attacking continuously, like shooting at people and then looking around your team and like right clicking to heal them and whatnot, or however you do it on console to heal them. And there were a lot of like moments where I think I was running in with, it was usually a Captain America, or it's not Iron Man, but it's like a Iron Man-ish suit. It might have been Ironheart. I don't know. I forget which the character
Penny
was.
Parker, right, in the spider suit?
No, it wasn't a Penny Parker like spider suit thing. Hi, this is Brandon from the future, and it definitely was Penny Parker. Sorry, Joe. It was like a taller thing. It almost kind of reminded me of Diva from Overwatch, but like a Marvel version. But anyways, I was either running in with that character or Captain America, and sometimes the objective was just overrun by like 5 people, but then I could also buff our damage, the person I'm healing and person I'm with, as well as myself. I would just buff their damage, buff my damage, throw like a regeneration, like healing over time thing on them, and then run into there along with them. And we would kind of like take the objective. I think I was just like doing a pretty good job at like managing the shooting as well as healing people. And I don't know, it was like really satisfying to play, and it felt very accomplishing like when we eventually like won that game. And there's so much to it, and I feel like I only spent an hour just playing Mantis, and there were some other characters. Jeff is another one. holy shit, that baby little shark was so annoying. I see why people hate him. I was like, so many times I was just trying to heal the team, and you could tell that he was singling me out because he knew I was keeping the team alive. And he just does this special thing where he swallows you and then pulls you to like the edge of a map and tries to spit you out. And god damn, that thing's annoying, but he's doable. Like if people shoot him, then he'll drop you. So it's balanced. It feels balanced. It doesn't feel like overpowered yet. I also haven't been playing enough, so I don't know if there's already a meta that's going on. I don't know if there's certain.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
has to be.
Yeah, at this point. So, yeah. Did you play Overwatch? And if you did, do you tend to gravitate towards like damage dealing characters or Guardian, like defense characters, or the support characters?
No, I never played Overwatch. I was watching like competitive Overwatch a little bit here and there. It just didn't seem like my thing. But now this has like a Marvel paint on it, and I'm like, yo, this looks sick. You got Iron Fist in there, Punisher, right? Just like, and then you got like characters that I don't even really know much about. Like you see Jeff, right? I'm like, okay, that's a character, right? Someone else. Who's another character that I'm just like, Goro Girl. They put Magic in there, which I was surprised. Like, really, Magic? Okay. And the only reason I know some of these characters is because of Marvel Snap. Like, I still play the card game once in a while, and so like to see like characters that you don't really see in mainstream out in this game, I'm like, yo, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, I agree. It's really fun just to see all these characters, especially since, I mean, even though the quality of the MCU stuff might be going downhill, it's still like a prominent part of popular culture.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm still all
to
for
see
it.
like some of these characters. Yeah, same here. To see characters in this game that, it's like, it's part of the Marvel universe, but none of these characters have been in like the MCU stuff before. So it's just like, feels new, feels fresh. But it still feels familiar with like a lot of the characters we do know, like Hulk, and I think Spider-Man's in the game too.
Psylocke is in there, which is from X-Men. And I only know her from MVC 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So I was like, well, they put Psylocke in here? Yo, okay. It's pretty cool.
Hell yeah. I think that they're also like hitting on that nostalgia factor of like, from people who haven't played like or who used to play Marvel vs. Capcom, and there hasn't been a new one in I don't know how many years now, but it's worth a shot. Plus, it's free. So that's probably the best part about it. It feels like a really well-crafted game, and it's free. Other than that game, I've also been playing Indiana Jones.
How far are you into that?
Like 2 hours or so.
It's a short game, right?
Is it? What is the
Saw like those YouTube channels that just pull up like long plays. They just upload long plays. I think it was only 11 hours.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at it right now. On Xbox's app, it'll say how long it takes to beat the game. Main story is 11 hours. That's crazy. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm 1/5 through the game at this point, I guess. It certainly plays a lot different than I expected. I'm also surprised by the reception to the game. I thought that it was going to get dragged online. And while some people did drag it, I think the overall consensus is that it's actually like a pretty good game. A lot of people compared it to Dishonored, which is kind of like a first person
Stealth.
a little stealthy, actiony. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This game is certainly emphasizes the stealth, and I'm not much of a stealth person, so I'm not sure if this game's for me.
Neither am I.
Yeah. So I'm playing through it. I'm really respecting it and enjoying it because like the writing's actually pretty good. Like there's a scene that happened like right now in which like Indy is dressed up as a priest and he's trying to infiltrate the Vatican City, and it's overrun with a bunch of like fascists. That's like the generic enemy is just the fascists. So, and then one fascist sees you as you're trying to sneak into the museum, and he's like, "Father, I must confess right now. I love." He's like, "I love Americans. Please come in. I need to confess to you," because you're like the American priest who's visiting. And yeah, so then he goes into the confession booth. He says, "Father, I have sinned. I've slept with my mother-in-law." And then he's like crying. And Indy's like, "Oh, whatever. Just say 3 Hail Marys and then call it a day." And he was like, "No, you don't understand. My wife is pregnant with child." And then he's like crying even more. And Indy like kind of stops dismissing him and like kind of turns to look at him. And then he says, "But I fear that the mother-in-law is also now pregnant with child."
That's crazy.
And then Indy is just like, "Jesus Christ." And then that's what tips the fascist off. He's like, wait a second, priests aren't supposed to say the Lord's name in vain. So he's like, wait, you're not a priest. And then Indy just punches him through the confession booth and then just leaves him in there. So it was just like,
that's a very
really
Indiana
funny
Jones thing to do.
Yeah, totally. It was like a very witty interaction. And I'm like, oh man, this was good. It got me like cracking up. It was very charming. I feel like the writing is probably the best part of this. The story feels like you're playing an Indiana Jones movie, game, whatever you want to call it. Like, you feel like you are Indy. I think they did a really good job at capturing that essence. And as far as gameplay goes, everything feels pretty solid. I think one of the main things that are holding it back a bit for me is the slow pace of the travel and the gameplay. I think because it wants you to be a mostly stealth game with some like environmental puzzles littered throughout the game, you feel like you're moving really slowly. So you have this whip. You're supposed to use it there's sometimes little like ledges that have like a hook or like a little lip on it. And you could use the whip to wrap around that lip and then pull yourself up. But just the act of even climbing up that wall is so painfully slow to me that it's really hard to enjoy it.
Like Breath of the Wild, like where you're climbing a mountain or something.
Honestly, it feels like that. It feels like it. Plus you have stamina. So I haven't had an issue with that yet where you like run out of stamina. And I know it's pretty clever. There are ways to improve like some of your abilities and stuff. And throughout the world, you'll find little magazines maybe, and then are books, and you can read the books and use this resource you get by interacting with the world. I don't know what the points are called, but it's like a little star, whatever. And you could use that resource to read the book and gain knowledge or abilities from the book. So I just read one that reduced the amount of stamina required and increases my climbing speed when I'm walking up or climbing up a ladder. So there might be ways in the game to remedy the problem that I'm having, but so far I haven't found any. And I think because everything feels so slow, I don't feel inclined to explore and do all the side content. I kind of am just mainlining the game, which the story, like I said, feels like a typical Indiana story. Some giant person broke into his home in Connecticut, or his museum in Connecticut, and stole a cat mummy and left a piece of like a medal or something, a medallion that indicated that this person was from the Vatican City. So now you're in the Vatican City trying to track that down and figure out what is going on here. And I don't really have too many answers yet so far in the game. But yeah, overall, I'm enjoying it. I would say if anyone has any nostalgia for Indiana Jones or feels like playing a more slower paced adventure puzzle game, this is probably for you. Feels like a really good one of those, but I'm not so sure if I'm going to keep on playing it. And I feel like there are other games that have been on my mind that I might check out instead. But then again, this game is only 11 hours. Maybe I'll power through it. I'm not too sure yet.
Yeah, it seems pretty short. Sounds like Indy should have bought some ADT home services or something for his museum.
Yeah, absolutely needed some sort of security going on there. I think one of those other games I want to check out still is Path of Exile 2. Seems like a very fun Diablo-like ARPG. Some people were calling it the Elden Ring of Diablo games of that genre. And I don't know yet. I don't know. I haven't really watched any gameplay. I think you know me now. I like to just dive into it kind of blind sometimes. If the concept sounds interesting, I usually don't watch any gameplay or stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at with the game. I'm just kind of either waiting for it to, it's not going to go on sale because it was just launched or just released, but like early access, it's $30 to play right now, but you could wait until it's fully released next year and then it'll be free to play. But from what I've heard, the $30 gets you some in-game currency, like the equivalent of $30 of in-game currency anyways. And you can use that to buy like more inventory space and some other required things that people would suggest. So it's like, it's more of like a current investment into the future of the game rather than paying for the game. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Were there any other games that are coming out in the next, I don't know, month or so? I know in February we have a lot that we want to play, but I guess until then, is there anything that you're going to I know you got Ghost of Tsushima to play, but any new releases?
No, I'm still working my way through Romancing Saga 2, which I'm like 20 hours in, but I kind of dropped it because I got to a point where like the bosses were just very spongy and I was losing lives. And in this game, if you lose the lives, you lose your character. So I was just like, I don't know if I want to jump back in. I might do that, but nothing coming out this month. I think January, I don't know what's coming out. February, we got Yakuza, Monster Hunter. I'm sure there's other games coming out in February too. February is always stacked. But until then,
I know Yakuza and Monster Hunter.
Yeah, until then, maybe just Ghost of Tsushima and then maybe finishing Romancing Saga 2 or picking it up again.
I mean, it sounds like a good slate. I know at one point we were complaining about all the games we wanted to play this year and didn't have enough time for. Well, kind of sounds like here's the time. We have it for the next couple of weeks.
Unless we spend it all in Marvel Rivals and go pro.
Maybe. I mean, I think the competitive ranked mode just came out this past weekend, so we still got a shot. We could hop in there. Speaking of going pro, I played Fortnite again last night.
Yeah, you were telling me.
With some friends. I only ever play it whenever one friend in particular who loves Fortnite texts me. And he was like, hey, do you want to play Fortnite tonight? I'm like, yeah, sure. So we played a full squad, 4 people. And my computer crashed during the first game we played, which is kind of crazy considering like the computer I have.
Yeah,
but
Fortnite's not like intensive, right? Like it's not GPU intensive.
There's something going on in the back end that I cannot figure out what, but I can just tell that all of a sudden it starts getting choppy and then it just crashes to desktop. I think it was because I think I changed the setting that it should fix it. I switched it from DirectX 12 to DirectX 11. Hopefully that helps. I didn't notice a crash the second and last game I played, which we ended up winning. So I got a pretty good win record right now. Out of the 4 Fortnite games I've played, I've won 2 of them.
Okay.
So
you could be the next Fortnite YouTuber, man, or Twitch streamer. You never know.
I know. Now that I will probably have some more time focusing on the pod and stuff, maybe I'll just stream Fortnite and Marvel Rivals in the mornings. Who knows? But I also wanted to chat about some of the Game Awards nominees and throw our picks in there. So do you have the list of all the categories up?
Yes, I do.
Cool. Other than Game of the Year, is there any other category here you wanted to do a fun little like? Let's guess. Let's see who wins.
Let's see what best RPG is. I don't think I've looked at that, so let's pull that up. I mean, we are the RPG at this point. We're the RPG podcast, right?
Oh yeah.
So I see we have Dragon's Dogma 2, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. No. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, and look at this. Metaphors on there.
Oh, would you look at that? Yeah.
I'm voting
I'm
for Metaphor.
sure everyone.
But
yeah.
I think Elden Ring's going to take it, right? Because, dude, when that DLC dropped, like, it was popping off. People were all over that thing, right?
Yeah.
I won't be surprised if it wins Game of the Year as well.
You know, you say that. I do agree with you in that, like, it was popping off, and I certainly love the shit out of that. That was, like, one of my favorite games of the year-ish, DLC content of the year. But yeah, Metaphor is definitely my vote. I personally kind of think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to win this one, though.
Yeah, I know Like a Dragon is not. You and I both know. Great game, but I don't see it winning.
No love for our boy. There's so much industry buzz around Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is such a shame because I feel like out of the 4 games I'm seeing here, that lacks the most in the RPG-ish elements where it feels like a pure action game. I mean, I know there's some stuff like the materia slotting and the weapons and whatever, but it feels so minimal compared to literally every other game here. So I wish I wasn't even in this category, but I almost feel like it's going to win, which kind of sucks. But
good. Well, at least we'll get some good music out of it, right? Like live performances.
I want to see that live performance of Metaphor.
Yeah, whatever they do, the battle theme, the boss theme, the intro theme, whatever it is, I'm there for it. I'm blocking out my schedule just to watch it, just to watch our Dorito Pope, show us some new stuff. Hideo Kojima's going to be there. So it should be a good time.
I agree. Going through this
Content Creator of the Year? What are you? I don't know. You know what? Let's click it.
Bro, I have no idea who any of these people are.
Queso, I know because there's just memes, right? He's this big dude and they just make fun.
Oh, sure.
But other than that, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I went with the anime character just because it was
Brave
different from
choice.
everybody else. Yeah. We'll see who wins that one.
Reminds me, where's that player's voice category?
Oh my God. It's if you click on the view all and then go on the bottom. Bro, Brandon Couture, if you're listening to this right now, I know we talked about having more players' choices at being considered for the Game Awards, but man, we gave power to the players for this one, and the outcome was not great. We got Black Myth Wukong, Genshin Impact, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, okay, yes, Wuthering Waves, and Zenless Zone Zero as the top 5 for Game of the Year, voted by the players.
Why are we playing
fucking gotcha games?
Gotcha games, guys. Give me the credit card. I'll take it away from you because that's ridiculous. Like Genshin, we always take the award show, right? Zenless,
Yeah.
I love Zenless, but I'm not spending money on that thing. And Wuthering Waves just came out too this year. So why again? 3 gotchas, player's voice, no more player's voice because I don't like this. I don't like it. I just don't. Y'all kicked out Meta.
Maybe we silence us.
You know, like
Yeah.
come on.
I know. Astrobot went the first round. That pissed me off. Metaphor went the second round. I'm like, okay, I hate gamers now. I'm like, why am I here? Why am I playing video? Why do I care about this now? I don't. I'm abandoning all hope. Yeah, seeing that just kind of put me in a bad spirit too, as far as like the players. Then again, it feels like the gotcha game players are kind of perpetually online-ish. I feel like, and there's just like a vocal, maybe minority of them. And I think that voice made itself heard with this vote. You know what, gotcha players, you win. I've been trying to avoid it for this long, but clearly everything about video games is trending in this direction. So, man, maybe I need to pick up Wuthering Waves. I don't know.
No, don't do that one. No. Maybe Zenless.
Yeah.
Bring you over to that side.
Okay. That's probably a better one. Other than that, I feel like just for the overall game of the year, or almost like I see the top 3 on here, game of the year, best game direction. Honestly, what's the difference between those two as well? Because it's the same 6 games as game of the year. But I guess game of the year is like overall what is the best video game, best game direction maybe is like overall what studio did the best job or what director did the best job crafting the game. I don't know. I put Metaphor for both of them just because I feel like what Metaphor did narratively was absolutely genius, and with its writing and acting and gameplay and art direction and music, like everything about it just like clicked for me. So I'm voting Metaphor for all this. Who do I think will win for game of the year? I don't know. As much as I wouldn't want either Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Shadow of the Erdtree, I feel like it might be either of those.
Yeah, most likely. Hey, who knows? Maybe Balatro will win. I know some people that were like not happy that Balatro's in there.
It's a good game.
It's a game, right? Yeah, I haven't played it, so I don't know.
It's a really good game. I think Brandon kind of already touched on this last week, but I think because of its kind of lasting stay as a indie card game, like it certainly I don't know if like revolutionized is the right word, but it certainly like entered itself into the zeitgeist of video games and of indie games and will continuously be talked about for years to come. So I totally agree with its decision to be in this category for Game of the Year. I didn't put the most time into it, but I certainly acknowledge its amazing accomplishment, especially for it being like one dude. There's one person who made this game. I think now they might have a team, but yeah, it's impressive what they've done.
I mean, it is in the indie game, right? Best debut.
True. It's definitely going to win that one.
I mean, Animal Well's in there, and I heard a lot of good things about Animal Well.
Yeah, a lot of people loved it. I really wanted to play it too. I just never got around to it. Honestly, the price point of it, I think it was around $30. And I was just like, oh, I don't want to spend $30 on this game right now. So that's why I haven't gotten to it. But I'm looking at the best independent game. UFO 50 there's Balatro, Animal Well, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Neva, and then UFO 50. I think UFO 50 is also a pretty astounding achievement of like crafting 50 video games and throwing them into one. So that should win something, even though it probably won't.
Thursday, right? We'll give it a watch.
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe some good announcements too.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think I'm good talking about the Game Awards here. Well, I'm really excited to see what comes out, what new announcements show up, but cool. Do you feel good? You feel ready to wrap it up? We're almost hitting an hour yet again.
Because I was like, we're going to do the article, and yeah, we're like at 56 minutes, and it's up to you if you want to do that. I'm down to, but.
Oh, yeah. I certainly will. Yeah. No, I cannot compromise on my article of the week now. So once again, want to just like plant this in here so we could bring it back to the psychology and research roots. And this week I found an article. Once again, I usually just find these on Google Scholar and just search like psychology and video games, and whatever pops up, I try to limit it to the past 4 or 5 years. And yeah, this one was pretty interesting. The full title of it is Therapeutic Use of Video Games in the Treatment of Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, a case study of an immersed 10-year-old boy. Now, this was like a case study that was crafted by Anthony Bean, who's a licensed clinical depth psychologist and a video game researcher. And the article details I believe this psychologist, his like interactions with the kid and his therapy sessions with the kid. It was pretty interesting. Like it kind of has a session by session breakdown and talks about how like the first session he was pretty closed off until he started talking about video games to him. And then the kid started opening up a bit more. And the video game that they were talking about was the Borderlands trilogy. So I guess the kid, I'm not too sure exactly what inspired the PTSD in the kid or what traumatic event happened to him, but he had PTSD. He was being very closed off to the parents and to socializing and was only playing video games. So then he ended up going to this therapist, Anthony Bean, and I think Anthony Bean was able to connect with him through the video games, through Borderlands. And they were even talking about how he was currently playing Borderlands 3, and they were using Handsome Jack as an example of something and using him kind of as a bad example of what went wrong or what not to do. And then talking about a more correct behavior that Handsome Jack could exhibit compared to what he actually did in the game. So it was a pretty fascinating article, pretty nice to see video games being used in a therapeutic context instead of, I don't know, whatever negative sort of connotation, negative media spin. And if anyone's interested at all, I put the link in the show notes, and it should link to just the full PDF. If you feel like that's a little too much and a little too researchy, what I'll usually do just to get a gist of it is read the abstract and then read the conclusion. And then that kind of gives me enough info that I'm looking for. And then if I want to like dive into more specific things, I'll go through the body of it and read like the methodologies or the background research and whatnot. So just a little tip, because I know these research articles can be a bit dry.
Put that graduate degree to work.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, like we did this every day for 2 years. So might as well like use that knowledge, share it around. So check it out, everybody. It's cool. It's cool. Support research. But that brings us to the end of the episode. So with that being said, everyone, be sure to rate and review the podcast on whatever listening app you're using. Helps boost us up on the algorithm, helps with the Google searches if you're looking for a video game psychology podcast. And yeah, it means a lot to us. So thank you for doing that. And be sure to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Blue Sky. I've been trying to post more on Blue Sky, and I posted some stuff and got like one of my favorite podcasters, Snowbike Mike, like replied. So that was like kind of cool. Or like I posted a question to him and then he replied. So that was like kind of nice. So yeah, follow us on there. Bring us the engagement on that. And if you have any financial means to do so, please go support our Patreon. There's a little measly $2 tier. $1 for me, $1 for both the Brandons, $1 for Joe. But thank you all again. Hope you take good care of yourselves. Hope the Game Awards are everything you were hoping for. And we'll catch you again next week, but hope you're having a good holiday season.
See you in the next one.
Catch you later. Bye.